take my hand and let's go to Tupelo.
This conference will now be recorded.
From Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, and New Delhi, India, and Colorado Springs, Colorado, we'd like to welcome you to the Health Channel. Hi, I'm your host, Nick Palavita, and also with my co-host, Ankit Kandlawar from India, and my co-host, Kim Calhoun from the Raleigh-Durham area. Today, we have a very special guest, Jeffrey Ross, a medical doctor also who does investments. Jeffrey, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me, you guys.
Okay. So, Jeffrey, tell us a little about yourself. Who are you and where are you from?
Sure. It's kind of a loaded question. It's not very easy. I grew up in Minnesota, and then I did some training in Milwaukee and moved to Colorado Springs back in 2008. Mm-hmm. So as far as who I am professionally, I trained as a physician. So I'm a diagnostic radiologist as well as a board certified interventional radiologist. That was my fellowship training. And I came here to Colorado back in 2008 to start practicing with a private group. Along with that, I have always loved investing. So when I started practicing back in 2009, I started a blog teaching people how to invest on their own. And that was a lot of fun for me. It's always been kind of a side hobby of mine. And that started going pretty well. I ended up getting picked up for my writing by a couple firms that are known by a lot of investors called the Motley Fool and Seeking Alpha as well.
I've heard of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they're great. They're great organizations.
The Gardner brothers. Yes, of course. Yes.
Yes, David and Tom Gardner. They have a great thing going at the Motley Fool.
Right.
And then in 2013, the investment bug got in me so much that I decided to take my Series 65 and become a hedge fund manager and an investment advisor as well. So I opened a firm called Vailshire Capital Management, and then my hedge fund called Vailshire Partners. Vailshire Partners is a long-short healthcare and technology-centered hedge fund, and I do all of that out of my home office here in Colorado Springs. And the third hat that I wear is, as of last year, I'm officially the Senior Vice President of Clinical Investment Operations for a company called Angel MD. They moved their headquarters from Seattle to Denver, and I joined them to kind of help facilitate the physicians on their platform, and as well as to help them with the investments that they make. So we can get into any of this along the way.
Okay.
So, real quick, just so viewers can understand, I mean, you became very educated. I mean, you went to become a physician, basically. I mean, so that this wasn't just, overnight I'm going to become an investor because I do this as a career. You became very much educated. You went to college. You explain that a little bit so that the viewers understand that.
Exactly. So college and then medical school at the Medical College of Wisconsin in Milwaukee. Did my residency and fellowship there, and then came out here. So yeah, I don't take that lightly.
How many years was that? That's a long time, right?
Yeah, I mean, from the start of med school to the end of my fellowship was 10 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Medical school is a life sentence, from what I understand, and you don't get parole. That's all I understand.
Exactly.
It's what I teach to the children, though. Your first piece of IP is this, right? What you feed this.
Absolutely.
And you invested 10 years into your intellectual property that you're applying to all of this. So this isn't just on a whim and you had good luck. This is continued education, right?
Absolutely. And in fact, speaking of continued education, I'm kind of a glutton for punishment because I just finished my MBA about 2 months ago. And that was just another thing. It's another thing I've always wanted to do. I just really enjoy business. I love investments and I love medicine too. And so it's a great way to marry all three. I'm not as I don't have as many titles behind my name as Nick does, and I'm not as multi-talented as he is, but I have a couple things I can do okay.
So just to give you a little tip, most people bar hop. Nick school hopped.
Yes, I can relate.
He bar hopped in law, but Nick is a true believer in education. It's one of the reasons why I like working with him, and he's a true believer in financial literacy, which we failed to provide in any of our educational systems worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the reasons. I mean, I met Nick at a hackathon, PBS hackathon, and I mean, of all places to meet somebody who's pushing financial literacy. But you know, Nick's a big firm, and it sounds like you are too. I mean, you continue to educate in your intellectual property.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about what is a diagnostic radiologist, since that was your first career. What is it?
Yeah, okay, so yeah, that was my first love. So diagnostic radiology, I'm the guy that reads the reports. When you go into the hospital or clinic and you get an x-ray or an ultrasound or a CT or MRI or anything like that, some kind of imaging study, a diagnostic radiologist is the guy or gal who reads the study, who puts a report onto it,
right.
who looks at all the images and makes a diagnosis.
Okay, so now that's what you did professionally. Now you read what, stock reports, or what do you do in terms of?
I do actually, yeah. So I spend a lot of time reading balance sheets and income statements, and I'm always, you know, getting back to what Kim was saying, I'm always learning. So anything that interests me regarding the economy, I'm kind of a macroeconomist at heart. I have a top-down investment style where I look at where I think the world is going and where the economy is going, and inflation and things like that, and invest accordingly. So all of that is really enjoyable to me.
Well, it's all the same kind of mindset, right? It's literally you're diagnosing what's going to happen in the economy. I mean, it's
yeah, exactly.
So what does Vailshire Partners, I guess, what does it do?
So Vailshire Partners is my hedge fund. So that is a long, short, healthcare and technology centered hedge fund. And those are a lot of words for people if they're not familiar with it. Long, short means that in my fund, I hold mostly long positions, meaning I buy a stock or an ETF or something and I hold it. That means to be long. And then short means that if I'm kind of betting against something, if I think something is overvalued and is going to fall in price, then you can bet against it. And that's called shorting a stock or a fund. So I do all of that in the fund. And as a doctor and as someone who loves innovation and technology, I like to focus on those two categories the most.
Okay. So this is the thing is you mainly focus in the healthcare sector. Would that be correct?
Healthcare and technology mainly, but I do lately, the last 9 months, I've been more focused in actually U.S. Treasuries, so government bonds, because it just depends again on the macroeconomic views of what's going on and where I think interest rates are going. Those kind of things have huge effects on what stocks do, where bonds move, and how the Federal Reserve responds. All of those things have a subtle interplay, and it's just fascinating, endlessly fascinating to me.
So Vailshire Partners, you actually take custody of the assets then, is that correct?
Not actual custody, no. So I am just the manager of the assets. They're held in custody at the firm. So I use Interactive Brokers and I manage people's accounts, IRAs, brokerage accounts, things like that. And then they also are the custodian for my hedge fund as well, which is a slightly different structure. It's a limited partnership.
Okay, so since we broadcast worldwide, can people work with you all over the world? Like Ankit is lives right now, he's broadcasting from New Delhi, India. Can the people in New Delhi, which I just found out there's 50 million people that live there. He told me, oh, we are a small city in New Delhi. It's only 50 million people. Okay. Can people in India, can they also work with your firm?
Sure, yeah, people can come from all over the world. That's the nice thing, first of all, about using Interactive Brokers is as far as these big brokerage firms go, it allows me more easily than any other platform to invest all over the world. So I can invest in India directly, or China, or Russia, or wherever I would possibly want to invest. And I can also accept clients, both in my hedge fund and in the separately managed account services.
Right, wow. Okay. So
do you have any investment back in India right now?
I don't have any current clients, although interestingly, just last evening, an Indian physician reached out to me and asked me about my services. So I may have my first one from India.
Awesome. Yeah. And you never know what happens when you distribute globally what your services are and start educating people on a global platform of what you can do. So Vailshire is one of your things, but you also mentioned an angel.
Yeah,
company?
so the other company I work for is called Angel MD, and their website is angelmd.co. They're based out of Denver. The co-founder and CEO is a guy named Tobin Arthur, and he's become a good friend of mine. He kind of found out what I did. Believe it or not, being a physician and a hedge fund manager is not something you see very often.
No.
So he got a kick out of that and asked me to join the team. I really enjoy it. They focus, well, I'll tell you, I'll give you the one sentence nutshell of what Angel MD is. It's a community of physicians and dentists who collaborate with startups and shape the future of medicine. So it's
Wow.
basically a social media platform married with a fintech platform. And it helps doctors to kind of learn how to invest in early stage healthcare companies. And the slogan, our mantra for that is invest in what you know. We really believe physicians and dentists should be looking at healthcare companies because that's where their area of expertise is. And then we try to teach them on the side how to look at companies from an economic standpoint, from the financial standpoint.
So
Is it
how do you
called?
find your startups?
How do we find them?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say?
Yes.
They find
Yes.
us usually. So yeah, so the
Okay.
startups in general are very interested. The uniform feature across all startups is that they're desperate for funding, and so they will kind of go anywhere they think that people will be interested in hearing their story, and that they can hopefully find investors in their story and in their product or service. So we offer a platform to them right now in Angel MD. There's I think about 1,200 plus startups. And then we use the data that we get from physicians who are looking at their companies. We basically have them do basic things like give a thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you like this technology? Do you like the direction they're going? And we use all of that data and data analytics to put the better companies up towards the top. And then we also have a training side of Angel MD where we help startups become more investable. And then the ones that become more investable, we put out in front of the members.
Is it
That is
called
awesome.
Angel? Is it angelmd.com?
.co.
.co.
No,
You have. I'm
.co.
looking at your site. That's the
CO.
correct.
Is that the correct
So have you
website?
ever thought of hosting a hackathon?
Yep. I have not thought of that. I'm not a tech guy myself. We have a whole team that can handle all of that side of the things. I'm more of the physician relations and the investment committee type work for Angel MD. I actually also host a podcast there with the
Okay.
founder, Tobin Arthur. And so
Really?
that's another
Well, you need
fun thing that we do there.
to convert over to Pod TV and
Yeah.
and
Well,
start
I have to
hosting your
catch
shows
on.
this way. This is a lot of fun. We just converted Walter Football, but no, but getting back to your investments, and the reason why I asked is I'm an engineer. I have an invention that can go in any platform. It's a tracking device and everything. So if I wanted to reach out to you and say I've got this technology that is great in all kinds of platforms, I think it'd fit good in medical care because we tested it. How would I reach out to you, and how do I open that door?
Sure. So what you would do, and it's what I tell all startup founders and CEOs and things, is go on to Angel MD and create a profile, both for you and for your company. And then we have all these steps that you need to fill out. Basically, a data entry. Tell us about your company, and we glean as much information from you as we can. And then as you get involved in our network, we have requirements where we want you to start building momentum and start getting followers for your company, followers for you. We want to see you put regular updates on our committee, or excuse me, on our platform. We have a news feed type thing, kind of like a LinkedIn. It's basically a LinkedIn for startups and physicians.
That's awesome.
And so yeah, and the cream rises to the top, the creme de la creme. And so those are the ones that get in front of the investors. And if the ones that reach the very top, the top about 2%, we form syndicates for them, and we also have a sidecar fund called the Catalyst Fund. We make investments into these companies as well. So it's really neat. It's a cool platform, and it's gaining a lot of traction here in Denver. So it's fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. What usually stands out the most in these startups for someone like you? What causes you to be attracted to something?
Yeah. I'll say first of all that most startup founders and CEOs are optimists, right? All 1,200 of them think that they have the best and most life-changing product. And so we generally don't make any kind of judgment calls throughout almost the entire process. We just want to help startup owners and founders become more investable. So we will kind of coach and guide all along the way. And we have tons of really bright physicians who are also, MBAs and whatever, and they've done a lot of investing on their own. They actually help advise companies, and then they can reach out directly and invest in the companies if they want to. So I would just say, if anyone is interested, if anybody has a healthcare startup type company, get on the platform. We're here to educate. We're here to be a community where everybody can kind of grow together, and we want everyone to succeed. And so we do what we can to help educate both the physicians and the dentists, as well as the startup owners.
And that's angelmd.com, right? Just make
No,
sure.
.co,
.co.
.co. Okay.
.co, and it sounds like a very healthy startup environment. Like you've got
Yes.
this ecosystem that is positive, reinforcing, and that you actually help guide them to where they need to be. Because I think every startup, most startups and products and services, they come out of somebody needing something, needing a solution, finding resolutions to, like Nick and I, we got really frustrated with the media industry, and we're like, you know what, we're just going to start our own network, and we're going to start our own platform because it was just too frustrating to work with, and now we've got something great. Do you ever, you've worked in 3 different industries as far as I'm concerned, you connect them very well. Do you ever find anything that you think you can solve a problem for?
It's kind of a loaded question too. I guess Vailshire was my answer to that. What I see in the financial industry, and this is obviously not true of everybody, this isn't a blanket statement, but there is a lot of greed and a lot of self-serving people out there. And with right, I mean, we all know this, but I really want to do well for my clients. And so I'm very open, I'm very honest. I'm not a sales guy at all, which is actually to my detriment. It makes it hard to grow a business if you don't have a sales side to you. But I do it for friends, family, my physician colleagues, a lot of nurses and administrators in the hospital systems and things like that. And I just want to go out there and be a real humble person who also is intelligent and understands the markets. And I just like to help people. As a doctor, I like to help people be healthy. And the financial side, I want to help people have a healthy financial statement.
Yeah.
It affects your marriage, it affects your family, it affects your retirement. So it's hugely important, and it's a really fun. There's a lot of counseling that goes along with it, and I enjoy that side of it as well.
Yes, your wealth can affect your health, and with that, we're running out of time. So
I will say I agree with you. In business as a startup, and Nick knows this as well, you put a lot into it and it can affect your family. I wrote about it in my book, Startup Masters, and somebody read it and he said, oh my God, you hit the nail on the head. And he bought 100 of them to hand out to his board of advisors, because the first element is building that healthy foundation inside you to understand yourself as a person who does an entrepreneur world. So but Jeffrey, this is amazing. You've got 3 amazing jobs.
You're hitting the startup world, the investing world, and
the medical world.
The medical world all at the same time. But we'd like to thank you, Dr. Jeffrey Ross, for being our special guest, and Kit Kandwar and from New Delhi, and Kim Calhoun. Thank you for coming to the Health Channel and emphasizing your wealth is as important as your health. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Pleased to meet you, take my